All right, we just wrapped up week 6 of the NFL, and it was a bit of a return to normalcy as we saw not so many upsets this week. Our top dogs taking care of business, but there's still a lot of time left in the season. We're only 6 weeks in, but again, when you think about it, man, 6 weeks in, only 11 games left to play for some teams out there. But we're going to go through, we're ranking all 32 teams, 1 through 32. I'm watching all of these games, taking notes, keeping tabs throughout the game. Remember, these are the power rankings, not the standings, but let's just hop on into it. Let's start with our bottom tier teams. Most of these teams, season's looking like it's probably over, but there is some hope. There is some hope. Teams 32 through 23. All right, we got the Browns here at 32. They're just awful. The defense and special teams outscoring the Browns offense, kind of hilarious, but this team is historically bad on third downs, and Deshaun Watson is just terrible. The offense can't get anything going. Kevin Stefanski sticking a middle finger to ownership, keeping Watson in is nice. Deshaun Watson is a terrible quarterback and a terrible human being. Number 31, the Patriots up to 31. I liked what I saw out of Drake May. 3 touchdown passes. Led the team in rushing. Don't necessarily love that, but this is not a very talented team. The offensive line is bad. The defense is bad. Carolina at 30, more of the same with Carolina. Awful defense. Offense is more competent with Andy Dalton in there. They can run the ball pretty well, but they're still just not very good. 29, Vegas, they make a change at quarterback. Aiden O'Connell doesn't help things out. They kind of hang in the first half with the Steelers, but this team just isn't good. Max Crosby, please trade him away, just not to the Lions or anything like that. Trade away Max Crosby, trade away Devontae Adams. I don't think Antonio Pierce is a very good head coach. 28, Jacksonville. God, I hate the Jaguars. Old middle seat Doug Peterson. He ain't making it back from London. This team kind of quit on them. It's a disaster. Goes on that goofy rant about culture, setting the culture. We need a better culture. Bro, you're the head coach. You set the culture. Miami on a bye, more of the same with Miami. I think this scheme has been figured out. I don't know if any quarterback play is going to help them out too much. Lost season. Wouldn't be surprised if Mike gets fired there. I know that's a hot take. Tennessee at 26. Okay, the Titans defense is semi-competent. The offense is head-scratcher. Will Levis is like the funniest man in the NFL to watch. He's awful and emotive and all at the same time hectic and crazy. Tony Pollard having a nice season, though, for them. LA Rams also on a bye. This is the season from hell. Can they turn it around? They're getting some guys back. Potentially Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp coming back. They really need it because they are digging themselves in a hole that you can't really dig yourself out of. Colts with Joe Flacco, they won. The defense isn't great. It's not good really at all. Can't stop a run. They gave up like a touchdown on 3rd and 17 on a handoff to Pollard, but Joe Flacco can make plays. As soon as Anthony Richardson comes back, this team's going to get a lot worse. And 23, I got the New York Giants here. Kind of a lackluster performance with everybody injured offensively. Defense did a pretty good job against the high-flying Bengals offense. And Daniel Jones had some moments. There's some moments there. I just think, I don't know, this is just a weird situation in New York with the Giants. But let's move on. Our middle tier teams 22 through 16. Okay, at 22, I got the Jets here. The Jets look better, I guess, this week, but it was more of the same with the Jets. No Robert Saleh. They lose the game. They miss 2 field goals against the Bills that cost them this game. Breece Hall gets tackled at like the 3-yard line. They don't punch that in. Just the same old with the Jets. Aaron Rodgers, over 1,000 days since he last threw a 300-yard game. Arizona, this is just a hot and cold team. The defense is really bad. The offense can get stopped when they decide they want to. I hate Kyler Murray's body language. He is the worst body language guy in the NFL, and announces a partnership with Call of Duty. He's terrible this week against Green Bay. So it's more of the same. Denver, I don't know how Denver has 3 wins. Honestly, this team is so bad. It feels like they score late. It's all garbage. They move the ball in garbage time, man. They've been getting dominated in multiple games this year. It's more of the same. Keep telling me Sean Payton's a genius. Keep telling me that. Cincinnati, they finally won a game. Defense looked a lot better. I know it's the Giants offense with absolutely nobody playing, but you needed to get something out of this defense. Bengals offense is still very good, even though they didn't have a great performance. The offensive line is a real issue, though. Joe Burrow taking shots left and right. Cowboys, embarrassing. Just embarrassing from the Cowboys. At home, again, blown out. This is crazy, man. They can't run the football. The defense is beat up, and they suck. CeeDee Lamb's a goofy wide receiver 1 now, just a diva, bitching and complaining. I could see this thing getting real ugly real fast for the Cowboys. Saints at 17, we called them frauds. We knew they were frauds. Weird half against the Buccaneers. Spencer Rattler, okay, he's not really, he can start, I guess, but it's not good. They need Derek Carr back, but the offense isn't anything special. A lot of short fields. Defense still okay for the Saints. Forced a lot of turnovers, but obviously got carved up. And Seattle at 16, just bad, three straight bad performances from the Seahawks defenses. They come down to earth. They got to get this thing figured out. I do like the direction they're heading. The offense wasn't great either. Geno had a really bad game against San Francisco, but that kind of tends to happen, it feels like, when they play the 49ers. Just maybe it's a thing with the Seahawks, teams in the division. It gets weird, but the Seahawks kind of coming back down to earth. Are they still potentially a playoff team? I think so, but let's get into it. What you came here for, your top 15 teams, and a new addition to the list. Okay, the Bears at 15, 4-2 on the season. Now, they have been benefited by a cupcake schedule. I think all four of their wins have only won one game. They have a combined total of 4 wins, so nobody's won multiple games on who they've beaten this season, but you can only play who the NFL puts on your schedule, and the offense is really starting to come along. We found a run game with the Bears, help slow things down, make it easier on rookie quarterback Caleb Williams, and he's finding his guys, got his weapons out there. Keenan Allen back, a pair of touchdowns for him. So the offense starts humming, and we knew this defensive unit was going to be good. They're playing well. They're feasting on bad teams offensively, forcing turnovers, making life completely hectic for all of them. Now, the schedule is going to stiffen up here. They still haven't played the division. They're the best division in football. 4-2 is last place in this division, and they're third overall in point differential. So there are some positive things with the Bears. We're just really going to have to wait and see once they get into the teeth of this schedule. 6 division games still remaining for them, plus the 49ers, and they got to play the Seahawks. That's their last 8 games, so still another soft one coming up for the Bears here, but we'll see what they're really made of. Okay, I got the Chargers at 14. I like me the Chargers, man. Not a lot of weapons offensively. They lose their top 2 receivers in this game. J.K. Dobbins, another strong game in the backfield. Justin Herbert just is good enough, man. He's making plays. He's a talented quarterback. He doesn't have to do much in this offense. He doesn't have a lot to work with, but he can make plays with them. In this defense, this is one of the worst defenses in football. They've instantly turned it around this year. I know they haven't played the best offenses out there, but they've been busting their ass off, and they've been pretty banged up as a team. I feel like if this team was healthier, they would probably be at 4-2 on the season instead of 3-2. You're 3-1, 4-1, whatever they would be. I feel like they would have a better record if they weren't so banged up, so hopefully they can get this thing figured out. I'm a huge fan of Jim Harbaugh coach teams. He's just a football guy, man, and I love me some football guys. So I think the Chargers are going to be a tough out each and every week. Potentially fringe wild card. The AFC's kind of stacked at the top end, but maybe 9 wins get you in the AFC. I don't know if we're going to get this team to 10, but they're a feisty bunch in LA with Harbaugh. Okay, 13. I got the Steelers up 13, and it was kind of a weird half for the Steelers, kind of struggling with the Raiders, but they really stuck it to them in the second half. Defense turned it on, shut down this terrible offense. And again, this seems to be a consistent theme with the Steelers offensively. They have good games against bad defenses, and if your defense is semi-competent, they struggle with them. Justin Fields had 2 touchdowns on the ground. He threw the ball, didn't turn it over, throwing an interception, had one called back on a penalty, but still looked good. Najee Harris, a nice day on the ground. But obviously this team is led by the defense, shutting teams down, forcing turnovers. I think this is the Pittsburgh Steelers. Like, we kind of know what the Steelers are. This is like an 8, 9, 10 win team. Probably 9 because they always have a winning record under Mike Tomlin. Is their ceiling limited? Absolutely. I don't think this is a Super Bowl level team. But is this a team that finds themselves like, oh, week 17, week 18, the Steelers are playing for a playoff spot. Let's see if they can win a 13-10 game in a blizzard somewhere, and they probably will. So Pittsburgh here at 13, they're going to win the easy ones, maybe not win the hard ones, but that's what a good average team does. Okay, Eagles at 12, and I kind of hate this. God, I hate the Eagles. Nick Sirianni has worn off on me. I liked some of the goofball stuff, but good God, man, he's just such a cheeseball. It's so stupid. He's fighting with the fans after the fans are yelling, fire Sirianni. Well, you're tied 10-10 with the Browns at home off a bye, bro. Jalen Hurts starts the game 0-5. You're an offensive guy. You're on a bye. You don't have anything drawn up. Like, this was ugly. This was sloppy. Now, it was nice getting both his receivers back, A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith. Saquon Barkley doesn't have a great game, but once you have those 2 guys out there to throw the ball to, it operates a little bit better. They do lose Dallas Goedert in this game. The Eagles are just way too talented to be as bad as they are, and it's every week. A new rule. I've talked about this rule. If you are thinking about firing a head coach after making the playoffs and losing, fire that head coach. Do not give him another year. It never works out. It never gets better. You're just dragging out another season. I'm talking to you, Dallas. I'm talking to you, Philly. I'm talking to you, Buffalo. If you're ever thinking about firing your head coach after making the playoffs, just fire him. Get somebody else in there. Try and turn it around because it's more of the same and it doesn't work. Is there any any scenario where this has ever worked. I hate the Eagles so much because of Sirianni and how underwhelming this team is, because they should be so much better. Okay, I got the Niners at 11 here. I don't know what to necessarily do with the Niners. Way too much inconsistency from them. This is obviously a super talented team. Now they are super banged up. Jordan Mason, the leading rusher, gets injured with a AC joint injury. It's not good. We're getting Kittle back into it. Debo's been banged up. Ayuk is whereabouts unknown. I think Brock Purdy's played really well this season at quarterback. Some people want to disagree. I thought he's been fantastic. This could easily be a team with 1 or 2 wins if he had played any worse than that. And if their special teams unit wasn't just a disaster against the Rams, they're probably right where they should be. Good thing is this division doesn't feel very good as much as we thought it was going to be. They're still probably the clear playoff team out of this division. So you're going to get a home playoff game, and then you get Christian McCaffrey back. Sounds positive on that front, so maybe we can get it healthier. And this happens to championship teams. You kind of slog through the regular season sometimes after you've been there year in and year out, and it's hard to stay focused for some of these games. They got to do a better job with that. I liked how they finished the game against the Seahawks because it was looking sketchy once again for them, but they turned it on at the end. So we just gonna have to wait and see with the Niners. I think it's gonna be a lackluster regular season, and they're just gonna be all in for the playoffs. Okay, the Green Bay Packers at 10. I don't necessarily know what to do with Green Bay either. Lots of positives, though. They survived losing Jordan Love early in the season. Not a disaster. They're 4-2. I think they're technically in last place in the division because they have that division loss to the Vikings. But their defense is feasting on bad offenses. They play a bad offense or an offense that struggles any bit. They are feasting on them. They're turning teams over at a ridiculous rate. I'm a bit concerned because they've played 2 competent offenses and they've been gashed by both of them, Philly and Minnesota. So you can't always rely on the turnovers. They got to tighten some of those stuff up. But offensively, they're running the ball well. Jordan Love looks healthy. He's looked better each and every week. Sometimes it can be like a grind for this Packers team. Other times it looks really smooth and really elite out there. You want to look more like the elite version like they looked against Carolina or Arizona, the Cardinals this week, than they did against the Rams. Kind of struggled against the Rams. We're just going to see how it plays out. Packers, another team, they're not the strongest strength of schedule, but they are still 4th in point differential, and they survived the tough part. Huge game this week against the Texans at home. Very interested to see how they play against a very good Texans team. Okay, I got the Falcons here at 9. Just taking care of business against the division. 3 straight division wins for the Falcons now, 4-2 on the year. And Kirk Cousins definitely seems like he's getting more comfortable. Kyle Pitts just shows up every now and then, oh, here's a 40-yard pass to Kyle Pitts, and then he disappears. We forget he even exists. Drake London had a nice day. Loved both running backs, Bijan and Tyler Algier, having very strong days on the ground. Both of them very impactful. This is what you wanted to see against a bad Panthers team. Now, they're kind of hanging around a little bit, the Panthers, in the first half, but then they poured it on them in the second half, and that's what you need. That's kind of what the Falcons have lacked all this time without this good quarterback play. Is they'd be in these games dragging along, knuckle dragging, and then they can't close them out and they lose to bad teams. This year they're winning those games with Kirk Cousins, and it's only going to get better. I think the Falcons are a real live team here to win this division. Now the division there's another tough team in there. I don't think the bottom of this division is very good, but I think there's another team up here that's also pretty good. So we'll be interested to see how they keep moving this. I want to see more of this ground attack. They keep running the ball. That's when your offense is going to be good. Kirk off the play action is as good as it gets, and he's getting more comfortable healing up that Achilles. Okay, the Commanders here at 8. I like what I saw from the Commanders. It was kind of like not quite a passing of the torch moment against the Ravens. The Ravens never felt like they were going to lose this game after the second quarter, maybe up to halftime. I was just like, the Ravens are just keeping them at arm's length, pushing them away. And the Commanders grinding through it, fought through it, hung around, and they ultimately couldn't get it done. And it just feels like, the Ravens are a Super Bowl quality team, and the Commanders just aren't quite there yet. I think this is a very good team. Defense is a little bit suspect. They were getting killed on the ground. Derrick Henry had a day against them. But Jane Daniels, man, people rant and rave about him after the games. Everybody talks about how good he is. And he looks it, man. He was confident. He moved the chains, had some big touchdowns to keep the Commanders hanging around. It just looked like, okay, that's what the top level of this league looks like. And this is what a young and upcoming team looks like. So I'd be very happy if I was a Commanders fan. A little bummed that we lost the game, but I think there's a ton of potential. They need to get this defense shored up. I just don't think against good offenses they're going to be able to get any stops. And good teams usually have a decent defense that will get stops against your young and exciting offense. But no Brian Robinson. Maybe this is a different game if they have their primary back. Maybe things look different. But Commanders here at 8 for now. Okay, it's 7. I got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers hanging a 50 burger on the road in the division in the Voodoo Dome. Ooh, things you love to see. Baker with a peak Brett Favre game over there. Over 300 yards passing, 4 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, a couple of bad bounces there. That's a peak Brett Favre game. And Baker Mayfield is a gamer. And this offense was humming, man. And guess what? No Rachaad White. We've been talking about Rachaad White, just very inefficient at the running back position. In comes Sean Tucker, a huge day on the ground. Bucky Irving, also a very strong day. That's what we need to see more of out of Tampa Bay. I like Rachaad White, but it just ain't it, man. This offense runs so much better. Chris Godwin, you're settled in, number 1 wide receiver. And the defense did a relatively good job. They had a lot of short fields they had to deal with. They did give up a punt return, which was kind of bananas over there. But they are a solid unit. They're starting to stop the run, even though they couldn't stop anybody in the run early in the season. They are getting beat in the pass game a little bit, which is the opposite of the season. But this is what we saw last year. Weaker pass defense, good run defense. Tampa Bay in this division, like I said, the only other competitor feels like Atlanta. They're going to really regret throwing away that Thursday night game in Atlanta. They could have had a real stranglehold on this division. I think we're going to see a lot of up and down games for our Tampa Bay, but we're going to see a lot more ups than downs. I think Tampa's going to be in that 9 to 10 win range, maybe even 11 wins. That's going to be probably good enough to win this division. It may come down to when they play Atlanta again, divisional tiebreakers. It should be interesting, but you know the rule. If you believe in Baker Mayfield, he's bad. If you doubt Baker Mayfield, he is a dog. Okay, I kind of hate this here. I'm going to put the Bills at 6, but man, hard to watch that game against the Jets. The officiating was terrible, 30 penalty flags thrown. It was ugly, it was sloppy. No James Cook, no problem though. Ray Davis had himself a night on the ground. You love to see some of that. I think this team desperately needs a number 1 wide receiver. We got the tight ends involved. We saw Kincaid, we saw Knox. Knox had a touchdown. Kincaid had an okay day on the ground. We just need to see more of their weapons. I mean, my man Mac Hollins had a touchdown. I mean, go Swole, man. But it just needs more consistency there. They need a true number 1 wide receiver. Trade for Devontae Adams, please. Or maybe like, I don't know, a Cooper Kupp. I don't know. But this team needs a good wide receiver. And it's very obvious what this team lacks. And the defense is suspect. Defense got lucky. They missed 2 field goals, the Jets. Otherwise, this game is over probably. Can't necessarily say that. Bills go down, get a touchdown, win the game with Josh Allen. That could easily also happen there. But kind of a lackluster performance, sloppy, ugly game from Buffalo. Want to tune this up. They started off great to get to the season. They dropped 2 in a row. So a big road division win when it's all said and done. But still, I feel super dirty about this Bills team. I just don't know. I'm going a lot off of pedigree, it feels like, more than anything. I need to see another big time performance from them against a really good team. Okay, Texans here at 5, and honestly, I feel like the Texans could go even higher, man. They looked great this weekend against the Patriots. Struggled a little bit there in the game, but no Nico Collins, no problem. Joe Mixon back in the lineup is a huge addition for this team. You can run the ball. It helps smooth things out. CJ Stroud's still only a second-year quarterback, guys. He's still a young man. He's still got to go through some bumps and bruises, and he's got to make life easier on him. Offensive line isn't great for Houston. They really might be the downfall for that team this year. Stephon Diggs and Tank Dell stepped up in a huge way without Nico Collins, but that's why you get this depth at wide receiver. So in case you do have an injury, you can fill in there, and it looked good. Texas defense, pretty good. You can get after the quarterback. If you're not getting after the quarterback, you're going to be able to beat this defense. This is a huge matchup in Green Bay here. Houston only has 1 loss this year on the road in Minnesota. Don't really want to drop another road out of conference game. Not the worst thing in the world because it's tiebreakers, but you want to make a statement like, we can go on the road, we can go get big boy wins against really good football teams, or at least play a super tight game. Don't necessarily have to win it maybe, but I like the Texans a lot here. They definitely feel like one of the last 3 teams standing in the AFC, and why not? They could maybe be the last one standing when it's all said and done. I would like to see what they do at the deadline. Maybe they get aggressive with some of those picks that they probably have. I don't know. I feel like they're just kind of like, there's just a little something missing with this Texans team, especially on defense. I want to see a better defensive unit, especially with DeMeco Ryans as the head coach. But for right now, Texans at 5, I think they're a really good squad. Okay, Lions at 4 here. Fantastic performance, obviously, against the Cowboys, beating the piss out of Dallas on the road. This is what we wanted to see out of the Lions. Last 2 weeks have been excellent from the Lions out of their offense. Obviously, they had a bye last week, but the last 2 games from the Lions is what we want to see. This offense putting up big points, running the football. This is what they really struggled to do early in the season. They were throwing the ball a ton. They were really bad in the red zone. They were kicking a lot of field goals and going for it too much. just pound the rock, set up the play action. Jameson Williams is good for like 140 plus yard play a game, it feels like now. He's just a free cheat code. Amon-Ra getting more in the mix. Sam Laporta still kind of like, Sam Laporta, we were expecting some of a step back, maybe if we were paying attention, but still I'd like to see him get involved more. Defense gets a stunning blow to it, though. They lose Aiden Hutchinson for the year. Nasty injury, man. And so we're going to have to see what this defense does because it's really not that great of a unit overall. The secondary is not that great, and they really rely on being able to get that pressure from Hutchinson. He's been a man on fire, leading the league in pressures, just dominating people, and that kind of covers up for your bad back end. Big time game this weekend on the road in the division against the Vikings. Let's see how this defense holds up, not being able to necessarily generate that individual pressure for them because the back end's been sus, a lot of penalties back there, but the offense might have to pick up for him. This game could be a shootout in the 40s. Big challenge ahead for the Lions, but I mean, number 2 in the NFC, clearly it feels like at least they're in the top 2, might be number 1. We'll find out. Great in the point differential. This is a real team. They're locked and loaded, and they've answered my bell. You know, I had a big question on the Lions going into the year. How are they going to handle being the hunted and not the hunters? And they've passed with flying colors, honestly. Okay, number 3, I got the Ravens here, and honestly, the biggest difference for this Ravens team has got to be Derrick Henry, man. Derrick Henry is still a man on fire, pounding the rock. Now, I am a little worried how his body's going to hold up throughout the season. He is getting up there in age, but this is the thing the Ravens have lacked. They blow all these 10-point, double-digit second-half leads because they didn't have this kind of guy. You can just turn and give the ball to Henry and chunk out wins. He can pick up first downs. He can move the chains and chew out the clock. It just helps so much. Lamar was fantastic, threw for over 300 yards. He was doing it right against a bad defense. And, you know, maybe this Ravens defense isn't as bad as we thought. Like, the secondary numbers don't grade out good. They're bottom 2 in passing defense. But guess what? They played like 4 of the highest rated quarterbacks in the NFL this season. The one who's not in the top 4 is a guy named Patrick Mahomes. So, yeah, they've faced a ridiculously amount of good quarterbacks. That's going to probably even itself out when they play some of these worst quarterbacks. They still got to play Deshaun Watson twice if he's still the quarterback. So that's going to really help out those numbers. I just really like this Ravens team. I think they found their stride. They were 0-2, and everybody was panicking. They've won 4 in a row. They've looked like one of the top dogs in the NFL. Definitely one of the top dogs in the AFC. Just more consistency from this, you know. Pound the rock. Lamar makes throws. Get your guys involved. Mark Andrews had a touchdown again. And that defensive unit will get it figured out because you're not going to be facing elite quarterbacks each and every week like the Ravens have so far. Okay, we're still here. Got my Vikings at 2 on a bye this week. 5-0, best record in the NFC, have the best point differential in the NFL. They have more interceptions than they've given up touchdowns this year. They are just lights out. They were tops in the NFL in sacks. I didn't check. Probably not anymore. Probably the Giants there. But this team is playing complementary football. The offense has been one of the most efficient offenses in the league. They struggled against the Jets. Defense shut the door. I really want to see the one last test we need to see from the Vikings is when this defense can't get stops, when they give up points, can the offense answer the bell? Can they go and score 35 points, 40 points to go get a dub? And there's a perfect test this week. The Lions coming in could be that test. Not the best defense in the world. They're missing their best player now, out for the year. Should have time to score. And the Lions offense is as good as it gets in this league. We could see a firework affair. So big test for the Vikings coming up, but I think they've done a good job so far. They've beaten 4 of the top 12 teams in Super Bowl odds. They have the best point differential. You can't ask for more of that. They ain't beating up on cupcakes, like I said. So we'll see for real for the Vikings are coming out of the bye. And number 1, obviously, Kansas City Chiefs, 5-0 also, best record in the conference. Really just so much respect for this team. Back-to-back Super Bowl champs. And they looked good in their last performance, man. It was a sharp showing against the Saints. And Andy Reid coming out of the bye. He's great, man. This is a big, tough game, though. They got the 49ers. This is a Super Bowl rematch. Interesting spot for them. This team just needs to get healthy. They survive the regular season, get into the playoffs, and then that's where they do their magic. This defense is probably the best defensive unit in football. If you need a stop, I trust this defense the most in Spags to go get a stop. They may bend. They definitely don't ever break in big-time situations, and Patrick Mahomes is the best doing it right now. It's not always pretty. It's not always awesome, but he just They just win, baby. Like Al Davis said, they just win. So Chiefs here at number 1. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Who am I too high on? Who am I too low on? Let me have it. I love going back and forth with you guys in the comments. If you haven't already, drop a quick like on this video. Subscribe to the channel. We got new sports content every single day. If you want to support the channel more, sign up for a channel membership. You get all sorts of access to cool exclusive perks, exclusive videos. Help support me. Allows me to keep making this great content for you guys every single day. And if you want to check out one of your teams live in person, head on over to SeatGeek.com. Use code AfterTheReview for $20 off your first purchase. That's SeatGeek.com, code AfterTheReview. Again, like, subscribe, and share, and I'll see y'all tomorrow.